Did Chille DeCastro bore his fans to death over footage he presented twice on his channel? Plus, what's up with his non-confrontational police audits? Does he not know that his fans want more? Irish Demon goes live with a random encounter he had on Omegle. Man told him stories of abusing others. He needed help reporting the man to Detroit police. This is really real. Really? Then, Demon withdraws the livestream from public view. What? Long Island Audit goes to GROTON, where LEROY the Truth calls the FBI during a town hall meeting. James FREEMAN tells a Texas police officer, "You can't tell me what to do," and "Shut up!" and earns himself an afternoon in jail. See what happened as America's non-Bostonian favorite redhead gets himself in some extreme hijinks. Long Island Audit is outraged that former Conneticuit State Trooper gets probation in a plea deal? What went wrong with his plan to change the judge's mind? Plus, REGAN BENSON says she's winning against police, returns to Denver District 3, declines to do erotic chalk art, but promises to return to Sheridan, Colorado? Dun dun dun! I'm your glorious newsreader, Pants. You're as delightful as a strawberry-shaped birthmark on the bottom of America, irritated by recent political events. Will you allow me to put some ointment to cool your burning and itching on you before you join me in a wonderful evening of canning jam, making brownies, and embarking in auditing insanity? Jose Chille DeCastro interrupted Sunday afternoon for tens of thousands of his subscribers with a new live stream featuring an old video of a man who claimed that he had been pulled over 8 times in the past year in Ontario, California. Vinny Fondario caught DeCastro's keen attention with a recent Facebook posting and video documenting all 8 of his pullovers, including an arrest for failing to tell officers that he had a loaded, licensed handgun in his vehicle during one of the stops. DeCastro saw Fondario's video and featured it on his own Delete Laws channel, in a video claiming that Fondario had been pulled over 10 times on Saturday. That video has since been removed from public view. The diminutive YouTuber was simply replaying that video for the first portion of his Sunday stream, not even taking the time to introduce himself to his livestream audience before starting the video. Once he played the arrest footage, he started to address his audience and play the footage again, this time critiquing Fondario for interacting with police in every pullover rather than invoking his right to remain silent. This led to multiple plugs of DeCastro's indestructible trifold products, which are now shipping for 2 for $20. Had every driver in history had one, apparently, they too could have gotten out of a ticket and had never been hassled by police. He went on to say that he knew about the book 1984, but had only read parts of it while in jail last year. He remarked how much society was turning into the society of the book before going into another pitch for his product. DeCastro's vertically formatted live stream was seen by 73,000 viewers as of press time, with 848 concurrent viewers at peak. It has 393 likes, 25 comments, and made $31 in Super Chat donations over the same period. It was not enough to spur interest in his 3 ongoing GoFundMe campaigns, which took in no money for Monday. Sean Paul Long Island Audit Reyes took Monday with $48 in new donations to his Help Me Fight These Unlawful Charges and Injustice campaign. No other campaigns that we follow saw donations for the day. Monday also saw DeCastro release his latest Members First content, featuring his return to First Amendment auditing in downtown Los Angeles. The video started with DeCastro and another man walking up to a traffic stop where 2 motorcycle-riding police officers had stopped a driver. The front of the driver's car was heavily damaged and missing the bumper and most of its front grille. DeCastro randomly muttered that there were over 50,000 pullovers a day in America. This was accompanied by a graphic illustrating that point. He told the officers that tidbit, which was slightly noted by both officers before they went on their way. A second graphic, set to a musical knockoff of The Girl from Ipanema, said that the definition of crazy was doing the same thing over and over. It also said most police pullovers were dedicated to taking the public's money and not enforcing the law. DeCastro mumbled that the officers should be out fighting real crime, which got a response as one of the 2 officers countered that pulling over a vehicle with a single headlight parked in the middle of the road was fighting crime. As the officers drove off, the height-challenged YouTuber continued to mutter, this time about the pointless crime of pulling people over for an illegal U-turn. He continued to call the police grifters on the public before ending his portion of the video. Strangely, the content of the video actually ended a little after the 4-minute mark. The rest of the 6+ minute video consisted of DeCastro's Delete Laws logo spinning to random background music. As we've been inspired by DeCastro to pad out our own video with facts instead of logos, we present to you Internet Facts About Jose Chille DeCastro. Jose Chille DeCastro lived in Alaska as a child, where he began studying wrestling and martial arts at an early age. He has claimed that he was a 4th-place champion in a wrestling tournament as a child, but stopped trying to win as he didn't want to humiliate the other children. DeCastro's hatred for police came from either a story where he was constantly harassed by police when he was growing up, or from a story where he was arrested for walking home from a party where he was intoxicated when he was 18. He worked in the fitness industry in the late 1990s and early 2000s. He went to fitness conventions where he dressed as the super necessary human. An inventor, DeCastro created the jock sock, which was a sleeve that fit over a man's genitalia, meant to be worn during suntanning to prevent harm from UV rays. In an interview about the product, DeCastro said that it was 6 inches long, as no one realistically needed the product in a longer size. DeCastro was initially cast as the Black Bison Power Ranger in Power Rangers Wild Force. He was fired before production. He blames the firing on a vast conspiracy against him, while others have said that he acted unprofessionally on set, threatening cast members and making accusations against both cast and crew. His casting credits include an appearance on Crossing Jordan in 2007, 1000 Ways to Die in 2010, and BSA Live in 2020. DeCastro also created the concept for the TV show Coded Court, which apparently recorded 8 episodes in 2016, but was not picked up by any networks. While DeCastro claims he is 5 feet 8 inches tall, his IMDb page listing has him at 5 feet 5 inches tall. Often homeless, DeCastro tends to live in studios that he rents for filming his YouTube videos. As of October of 2025, he was living in a former furniture store in Los Angeles. He began to claim that he was a constitutional law scholar in the early 2020s, at one point stating that his teachings were better than hiring an actual lawyer. He even sold document preparation services for a time. DeCastro has since backed off on these claims and now provides AI training services where he shows how to use AI bots to replace lawyers. Around the same time, DeCastro added title of civil rights advocate and has since added independent journalist, First Amendment auditor, and candidate for government to his many occupations. DeCastro has not declared where he is running for government, just that it'll happen and he'll take no outside money and he'll win and abolish the police force. He says he will never take sponsorships on his YouTube channel, as it establishes a contract that would leave him in the pocket of big businesses. DeCastro has called for women to be banned from serving as members of the military, police, and fire departments. He has claimed that no woman can defeat a man in unarmed combat, as reasoning behind his views. Despite his claims otherwise, DeCastro has a criminal record that can be viewed at thepublicdocuments.com. DeCastro's fame as a First Amendment auditor has not stopped him from suing other members of the field. In 2025, he sued fellow First Amendment auditors Lackluster and Josh Accountability for All Abrams for defamation. In 2025, his lawsuit against YouTuber Blue Bacon was dismissed with prejudice, and he was ordered to pay over $15,000 in sanctions to the Washington State-based YouTuber. Please stay tuned to the Really Cool News YouTube channel for more fun facts about CHILLE DeCastro. Irish YouTuber John Irish Demon O'Day returned to live streaming on Monday after what he said was a troubling encounter with a man on Omegle video chat service, and indicated that he was looking for help reporting the man to authorities in the Detroit area. Omegle is probably best known for a user known as Bad Kermit, who uses a puppet to randomly connect with users, with each encounter ending with the puppet exposing a cucumber to simulate a frog's oversized male sex organ. O'Day said that he has been hanging out on the Omegle and Monkey app services in recent days to tell dad jokes to random people. Both services connect users to random people together to video conference. According to O'Day's account of Monday's activities, he encountered a man named James who looked mean, that he tried to cheer up with dad jokes. After breaking the ice, the man asked if prostitution was legal in Ireland. The man then opened up to O'Day, telling him that even though he had a girlfriend, he would use the services of prostitutes. Then, if his funds were limited, he would go on a same-sex dating app and indulge in activities with local men. He admitted to committing forcible sexual acts on fellow inmates while serving prison time, saying it was part of the culture of prison. The man said that he forced up to 10 men into these situations and had no remorse for his actions. Now that the man was out of prison, he admitted he was touched inappropriately by a relative as a kid, establishing a pattern of abuse which he then continued on his own with younger relatives. When the man admitted that he had messed around with girls as young as 13 or 14 as an adult, he paused and then ended the video chat with O'Day. O'Day said that he was shocked by the man's admissions to a stranger and that the man was from Detroit, as he had a Detroit accent, but had no other information on the man other than a screenshot of the man's face that he used as part of his thumbnail. He spent time asking his audience what to do next, as he was still in Ireland and wanted to report the man to authorities in the United States and then wash his hands of the situation and return to telling dad jokes on Omegle. O'Day eventually asked ChatGPT what to do, and the AI bot instructed him to contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Critics immediately pounced on O'Day's broadcast as another stunt by O'Day to take advantage of a situation where authorities should have been contacted. For long-time fans, it brought back the period in late 2023 where O'Day produced Dateline NBC-style videos where he arranged meetings and eventual confrontations with the men he accused of soliciting sexual acts with the underage character he was posing as. O'Day would admit during this period that he had conducted similar acts of confrontation when he was working for the court system in Australia. He eventually stopped the series after he faced negative fan backlash. Fans expressed concerns for both his mental and physical well-being, along with the legal danger he put himself in by live-streaming his confrontations with the men for profit. Monday's livestream was not monetized. O'Day complained that his YouTube channel was still shadow banned by the service during Monday's livestream. He did not mention Jose CHILLE DeCastro's current lawsuit against him, where that Randall S. the unhinged attorney Newman, Esquire, has asked for a default to be issued against O'Day for failing to respond to the lawsuit. The Irish YouTuber did mention that he was in an ongoing dispute with the @Trial World Live YouTube channel. According to O'Day, he successfully submitted counter-DMCA notices to challenge takedowns from Trial World for using court footage without commentary taken from Trial World's channel. O'Day noted that YouTube initially refused to take his counter-DMCA notices in the matter, but eventually ruled in his favor. He blamed his shadow ban on the encounter, as his videos were no longer hitting YouTube's algorithm, and his views were down. Updating his physical condition following his motorcycle accident earlier in the year, O'Day admitted that his vision was much worse since the accident. He said that it could be due to the heavy medicines he was still on to help with the pain from his lingering injuries and the infection in one of his wounds. O'Day mocked those who said that he had faked the accident and said that he was in the hospital an additional 5 times since being released. He said that while he can't ride a motorcycle at this time, his healing journey was progressing, and that he looked forward to returning to motorcycling in the future. YouTuber James Freeman Springer was arrested on Wednesday in McKinney, Texas, for interfering with public duties after he refused to follow instructions from a McKinney police officer who was trying to finish an unrelated traffic stop. According to the officer's account, he was finishing up a traffic stop when Springer and YouTuber Pink Camera Magic arrived on the scene. When Pink Camera Magic came a little too close to the officer, he asked her to move away from the scene, and she complied with his order. Springer did not comply with the same orders, screaming that the officer couldn't tell him what to do, and then for the officer to shut up. The officer asked him again to please stand away from the scene, and was told again to shut up. The YouTuber went live at that point, telling his fans that he was about to be arrested and that the officer had called for backup. He then started walking around the area, moving past Pink Camera Magic and approaching the street a fair distance away from the traffic stop. Almost immediately after he repositioned, a second police car arrived, then a third. A few minutes later, he was arrested for interference with public duties. Springer immediately began to argue that he was a member of the press and that filming was part of his duties. He capitulated quickly, however, as police began to place him in handcuffs, and he began to complain about an existing problem with his rotator cuff. The YouTuber's request for his camera equipment to be given to Pink Camera Magic was denied. Officers on scene told Springer that the equipment would be held as evidence. However, they instead took the SD card out of the camera before giving it to Pink Camera Magic. Springer was transported to the Collin County, Texas Detention Center, where bond was set at $2,500. A multitude of YouTubers immediately streamed in support of Springer, including BZ Watchdog, Josh Accountability for All Abrams, and John Felix. Conspicuous by his absence was Jose CHILLE DECASTRO, who recently claimed a bond with Springer after the men settled their differences when DeCastro was incarcerated last year. Pink Camera Magic would live stream outside of the Collin County Detention Center later in the day. She said that there were no good cops in McKinney, as any good cops would have prevented the arrest of Springer. She was joined by 6 other YouTubers, including Clash with Bao, Chuck Bronson, and Otto the Watchdog. She also indicated that once Springer was arraigned, they had enough money to post bond. Freeman was arrested for violating Texas Penal Code 38.15, interference with public duties, which reads, "A person commits an offense if the person with criminal negligence interrupts, disrupts, impedes, or otherwise interferes with a peace officer while the peace officer is performing a duty or exercising authority imposed or granted by law." It is a Class B misdemeanor and carries a maximum sentence of 180 days in county jail and or a $2,000 fine. First offenders typically get probation and a fine if found guilty. Texas Bill 3565 was introduced earlier this year to modify the law to increase penalties from a Class B misdemeanor to a state jail felony. It was left pending in subcommittee as of May 2025. Late in the day, Carolina in Fort Worth Rodriguez picked up the coverage from the jail. A lawyer had met with Freeman as a favor to BZ Watchdog. With the bail still set at $2,500, the lawyer confirmed that a judge confirmed that the officer had probable cause. A group of auditors left to find an ATM or an open bank, as the bond table only accepted cash. She ended her coverage soon after the lawyer left the scene. Coverage was eventually picked up by Clash with Bao on his Smurf Watch Transparency channel. Bao was live as Freeman was released at a little after 7 p.m. local time, after making bond and being processed by the detention center. Freeman would vow to fight the charges, with many of the gathered auditors promising that the state of Texas owed him a big payday for the arrest. After leaving the event, many of the assembled auditors went on an extended group live cop watch. Those who follow Sean Paul Long Island Audit Reyes were not surprised on Tuesday, as he and a contingent of his supporters made more public statements at the GROTON, Connecticut City Council meeting, aimed at toppling the administration of Mayor Rachel Franco, and bring funds to his ongoing outrage-based GoFundMe, but may not have been prepared for an offhand announcement he made during his live broadcast. Reyes was accompanied by usual sidekicks Jim Scalzo Photo, Lo Scalzo, and Leonard Leroy Truth Filipowski. They were joined by Brian LTL Media Nicholas, who is a YouTuber from Boston, and a local resident named Ian Thomas. Nicholas and Filipowski would position themselves in imposing spots next to the public speaking podium while monitoring their camera equipment. The group as a whole would loudly applaud for negative comments about the mayor, town manager, or city council itself, and drowned out reactions from locals. About 8 GROTON residents were in the meeting room with 2 GROTON police officers as Reyes entered. He had started the live stream by reminding his audience that he was there to demand to know why the video he received of GROTON police interacting with retired Conneticuit State Trooper Brian Fahey was doctored, as it had the sound removed. As he sat in his chair, he then told his viewership that he had been told, but only had anecdotal evidence, that Mayor Franco and Town Manager John Burt were having improper extramarital relations, adding allegedly after a pause, to apparently protect himself from making a direct accusation. He would later forget to use the allegedly when referring to the alleged interaction between the two. While Reyes was speaking, Filipowski could be heard in the background yelling at Town Manager Burt that a member of their team couldn't make it and was denied access to attend the meeting via Zoom call. Filipowski made it clear that anyone who wanted to speak should be able to have access via Zoom in this day and age. Reyes complained that Mayor Franco had previously made the decision, without a vote of the council, to change the rules of public speaking. Attendees were again limited to 2 minutes per person to speak, with the public speaking portion of the meeting not going over 30 minutes. At the previous city council meeting, Reyes had threatened to sue the mayor and the town council over this matter, claiming it targeted him in an effort to chill his First Amendment rights. He had given the mayor and town manager 30 days to respond to a demand letter he hand-delivered to the city council that night. He indicated that he had received no response from either government official by the start of the meeting. Before the public speaking portion of the meeting began, City Councilperson Portia Bordelon put on a motion to restore the rules of public speaking to the previous allotments of 5 minutes per person and remove the cap on speaking time. She received no second, and the motion did not move forward. Brian Nicholas was the first of the group to speak, addressing Spitgate. He said that at the August 5th, 2025 City Council meeting, Mayor Franco brought up an issue where City Councilperson Jill Rusk said that someone had spit on her chair before the meeting. The mayor indicated that the room had security cameras, and Nicholas said she blamed the incident on Reyes and his supporters. Nicholas said that he had put in a Freedom of Information request for the footage of the town hall meeting room from August and found that no one had spat on the city councilperson's chair. Local Ian Thomas was second, who expressed concern that the mayor cited the wrong rule when she made the decision to change public speaking rules, and that a vote was required to change the rules. He demanded an immediate investigation into the mayor's actions. A local woman made a passionate statement in support of City Councilperson Portia Bordelon next. Reyes was the next person to speak, announcing that he was following through with his federal lawsuit against the city based on the mayor's illegal decision to change the rules of public speaking. He then demanded to know why there was no audio on the body cam footage he received from Groton Police of the July event at the home of now former State Trooper Brian Fahey. Addressing Town Manager Burt, he inquired about an internal affairs investigation into the incident, but received no reply. YouTuber Jim Scalzo Lo Scalzo was up next and followed up on Nicholas's remarks, claiming that City Councilperson Rusk had lied about there being anything on her chair. According to his account, he viewed the video evidence and he claimed that a wet mark was found on the chair only after Rusk put her fingers in the area where she said there was spit. Scalzo finished his remarks by stating that he had FOIA requested all of the messages received by the city council from Reyes' supporters and found that no one had sent anything that could be considered threatening to the city council. Filipowski was the last member of the group to speak and immediately accused Mayor Franco of engaging in illegal quid pro quo. He said that a contractor for the city testified under oath that Mayor Franco offered him a contract in exchange for silencing Historic District Commission member John Goodrich. The bald YouTuber said that Dictator Franco would be facing 10 years in jail for quid pro quo and asked what her favorite color of prison uniform would be. Inexplicably, he then said that he had to make a personal call, which he put on speakerphone and held up to the microphone. He had called the Federal Bureau of Investigation and quickly hung up while in the audio menu. Mayor Franco called a brief recess following his comments. During the recess, the woman who had spoken in support of City Councilperson Portia Bordelon started screaming at Reyes' group that they were being punished for the group's bad behavior. She was removed by police. A second woman echoed similar comments and engaged with Reyes and members of his group. After Reyes dismissed her, he mocked the locals, gleefully stating that their taxes would go up after he won a judgment against the city. Around this time, Reyes announced that he would be running for political office in the future, and for all of his supporters in Strong Island to pay attention to future announcements, as he needed their support. With the crowd quickly turning against them, Reyes's group would then move to the front row of chairs and begin to shout at the mayor and city council. They remained in place as the council reconvened, and councilperson Bordelon made remarks complaining about her role on the council. Reyes announced that he would be returning to Florida in the near future to protest Melbourne, Florida Mayor Paul Alfrey made more comments about a big payoff at the expense of GROTON taxpayers and reminded his fans that he represented we the people before signing off for the night. The live stream saw a total of 193,000 views as of press time, with 6,880 peak concurrent viewers. It brought in $61 in Super Chat donations, 16,000 likes, and 1,836 comments. An update: Reyes managed to win Tuesday's crowdsourcing title with a $100 donation to his Help Me Fight These Unlawful Charges and Injustice GoFundMe campaign. The Help Me Fight campaign tied with his Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption campaign on Wednesday to take the top slot with twin $25 donations. Thursday's results were more of the same, with the Help Me Fight campaign taking in $20 to win the day. No other campaigns that we follow received donations for the 3-day period. Activist for the homeless, city rights champion, and voice for the voiceless, Regan Benson was accompanied by Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova as the pair returned to Denver's District 3 monthly Police Command Advisory meeting Wednesday evening. Benson began her stream by reminding her fans that her erotic chalk art and sharing of the home addresses of Commander Joel Bell and Brian O'Neill resulted in charges against her after she attempted to livestream September's meeting. In September, Benson arrived at the police department to find that the meeting had been postponed due to the Labor Day holiday. Benson raged against the lack of advance notification of the change and expressed her appreciation for the move through her chalk art. According to Benson, as she was drawing male sex organs and writing the home address of Commander Bell on the sidewalk, police were observing her work and chose not to interfere. They then waited for her to finish, called the fire department to clean up her mess, and filed a warrant for her arrest. That warrant eventually resulted in Benson dramatically turning herself in at Denver's downtown detention center and spending a night in jail. Actual charges are still pending against the YouTuber. Commander Bell asked for a criminal restraining order against Benson when she was arraigned after the arrest, but was denied. A later hearing saw Benson presented with a civil protective order, blocking her from contacting his family and visiting his house. According to Benson, and in a correction of our previous reporting, Officer O'Neill attempted to gain a permanent civil protection order of his own, but failed to show for the hearing for the order, and the order was denied. O'Neill was allowed to file again for a permanent protection order earlier this week, with a second date scheduled for Friday to hear arguments based on a motion presented by Benson's attorney. Benson mocked O'Neill, as she said the only evidence he had that she was a threat was a message from a friend where he was told in 2024 that O'Neill's home address was posted online. When pressed, Benson said that O'Neill had to admit that the person who posted that address was not Regan Benson. The YouTuber says that she expects O'Neill to either no-show the hearing or accept his pending loss badly. Benson's Wednesday broadcast was essentially a reminder to her viewers of her thoughts on Denver police and the police in the area. A good portion of the post-meeting coverage was spent with Cordova and Benson writing negative comments to post on a blue ribbon display soliciting positive comments from the community. Benson's previous blue ribbon calling for the firing of the police officials had been removed from the wall, and the pair replaced it with new messages calling for the firing of the same officials. Benson's live stream ended with a warning to Sheridan, Colorado, that she and Cordova would be returning to investigate Sheridan Police Chief Jeffrey Martinez. She also warned that in the current political climate, those who were expressing dissent to the government were quickly being labeled as domestic terrorists. She is expected to live stream again on Friday. Sean Paul Long Island Audit Reyes made an extended statement denouncing Connecticut State's Attorney John Fahey on Thursday after Fahey failed to follow his instructions and opposed accelerated rehabilitation for former State Trooper Brian Fahey, no relation, at the former State Trooper's sentencing hearing. Former Officer Fahey was essentially pleading out to disorderly conduct charges stemming from a July incident where Reyes ignored private road signs and brought a cameraman to make an unannounced interview of the former state trooper. During that incident, former Sergeant Fahey was apparently enraged by multiple incidents in the past between himself and the YouTuber, and an ongoing lawsuit where Reyes is suing Fahey. He ultimately spat in Reyes's face as Reyes was slowly retreating off of his property. Reyes was charged with felony voyeurism and trespassing from the incident. After demanding that someone be arrested for the incident, Fahey was charged with disorderly conduct months later and chose to apply for accelerated rehabilitation instead of facing trial. Under Connecticut state law, a first-time offender can opt for accelerated rehabilitation, where if they take a plea deal and kept themselves out of trouble for a set period, the charges against them would be sealed and removed from their records. Reyes, as the victim of the crime, was allowed to speak twice at the hearing, despite the fact that former Sergeant Fahey has an active protective order against him. He said that he brought up Fahey's violent incidents in the past and said that having someone spit in your face was one of the most vile things a human could do to another person. Both State's Attorney Fahey, who is prosecuting the case, and former Sergeant Fahey's attorney agreed on a 3-month probationary period as punishment for Fahey's actions. The judge disagreed with them and ordered an 18-month probationary period over Reyes's objections to Sergeant Fahey's eligibility for accelerated rehabilitation. After the sentencing, Reyes raged outside the building, calling State's Attorney Fahey corrupt and declaring that the entire system was conspiring against him. He claimed that State's Attorney Fahey said in court that he would offer accelerated rehabilitation to both Reyes and Reyes's cameraman, who were both arrested during the July incident. Reyes rejected the idea of accelerated rehabilitation, as he said he was innocent of all the charges. He also was leery of the state's attorney's statement that charges against Reyes would be changed before he went to trial. YouTuber Reyes thanked his fans for their support and exclaimed that without their financial support, he'd be alone and forgotten in the justice system. He went on to announce that his unedited footage from the court hearing would be made available later today. This is a breaking news story. We need your help. Both ReallyCoolSite.org's daily newspaper and our daily newscasts are funded by your continuing donations and what we make from our YouTube AdSense revenue each month. If you'd like to contribute to help us keep the lights on, eating, feeding the cats, defending ourselves from lawsuit threats, and writing news stories to feature on both the newspaper and newscast each day, you can do so via a donation to our PayPal, Cash App, or GoFundMe accounts. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch our videos from beginning to end, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.